Yo, what is going on, my fellow weebs? Chrono here. Welcome back to the channel. So, happened yet again. We have a new weapon. We have some new units. It's a new weapon upgrade, new unit upgrades. We're going to talk about how strong this new weapon actually is, how you got the new units, how you get the new weapon, the best way to farm this, and yeah. But before jumping that, if you're here, as always, I'm Chrono. I primarily cover PSO2 content. Would much appreciate to subscribe as we're going towards that 10K mark, hopefully by the end of this year. Anyway, let's go ahead and jump into this. So if you're looking at the timer, you're probably thinking, what the heck is going on? Marathon stream. There should be a link in the video description. Just check that out. It's still going on. It'll probably still be going on by the time you watch this video, by the time it goes live. To be perfectly honest, I'm not even sure what this video is going to be, whether it's another BiS video, whether it's another, weapon comparison video. We're going to do both, to be perfectly honest. Maybe Crowell split it into two. Maybe it'll be one video altogether. I don't freaking know. He'll probably figure it out. We'll see what happens from there on. We're going to talk about it. We're going to let you guys know what we did. We farmed out a new weapon. It took a couple of hours, honestly. It took a little longer this time around because they didn't hand us half of the materials from the very beginning. Last time it took like 45 minutes. This time, realistically, if we had just farmed it out straight out, it would have taken maybe about 2 hours, maybe 3 at the maximum, depending on how unlucky you actually are. But we have new armor and new weapon. So here's the new weapon. It is the Celio weapon. And the new armor is the Trestasis armor. So the Trestasis or Trestasis, however you want to pronounce it. So what is up with the new armor? New armor has 3 different variant choices. I'll pull it up really quick here. That is the wrong shop. For new armor, we have the Trestasis, the Trestasis Vita, and the Trestasis Vio. Basically what this is it takes the previous versions of these armors and it kind of doubles up what they have on them. So on the previous one, the Duotasis, you can see it was 20 and 2 pp, 40 HP or 4 pp. With this upgrade, we get an extra. So it goes to 40 and 4, 80 and 8 pp. So it does jump up by double essentially of what the previous utility stats were. You also do get some more defense as well as 1% damage resistance. Pretty comfortable, fairly nice. And the coolest thing about it is if you picked a different armor set beforehand, let's say for example, you went with the Vita and you're like, I don't really need the HP. Honestly, I'd rather have the PP, or I'd have it be the balanced one. Well, you can go over to the different one and you can trade in any of the armors or that one. So you can switch between them if you'd like to. This is only during the upgrade, right? So once this is at your Trestasis stat, you can't change it. Of course, the weapon is the weapon. It's just one weapon. There's only one setup for it. So just how it goes. But you can skip having to do the process twice. You don't use any less materials, the same amount of materials from what I understand, but you don't have to do 2 trade-ins. You can just do 1 trade-in and jump directly to your Celio and your Trestasis. So what is up with these new weapons? We're going to use our good friend here, Iris, for comparison. They still have their dual weapons. You can see the Celio blade, Celio weapon at 43% potency, and of course 10% increased PB, and then of course the 3 stacks of nullifying attack with your sidestep or weapon action. So all the charges doing a PB to reduce your PB consumption costs for 90 seconds. Pretty nice, pretty powerful, definitely super cool. The current weapon is the Celio weapon. The Celio has all the same effects but a bit stronger. So it is 45% potency. It's 15% increased PB gauge generation, if I could speak today. We've been up for a long time, you'll have to forgive me. And the same effect, basically 3 stars, sidestep or weapon action, and reduce PP consumption by 90 seconds. However, there is an extra added effect that we have just recently learned about. So shout out to Aurora on our Discord for posting this. Apparently the entire effect of the PB can't fit on the description, because as you can see here, we'll go ahead and play this really quick. When they go to PB, they healed. So it also heals you based on the number of stacks. They got to heal for 769. So that's pretty cool. You also get a huge heal. That does suck for people who use shortage HP. You're not going to want a PB with this, or you're going to knock yourself out of shortage HP, but just be warned. All right, so how do you farm these weapons out? There's a few things that you can do to farm these out. Essentially all of the rank 2 steel regions will drop these. So PSE bursting and deck space, PSE bursting over in Nuisance Plant, or just farming out Mediola Outer Area 1. All these things will get you materials. You can just farm this with some boosts. The other option is to farm the LTQ. The LTQ does also offer these as well. You can see here, Evil 2s, Advanced 2s, pretty solid. Even though these aren't on the list for deck space or Nuisance Plant, they do drop there. You'll have to take my word for it if you go out there and test it yourself. And it does seem that rare drop rate does affect these. From what we could tell, running a limited quest, it doesn't seem like rare drop rate affected it at all. People who are running nothing versus people who are running the same thing had roughly the same amount, 1 and 3. So it's totally fine to not run RDR from what I can tell here, but I would test it on your own, see how well it goes for you. Overall, we got anywhere between 1 to 3 per run. And we were going through runs in about 4 minutes a piece. It is a bit slower, but it's very consistent. You're able to get quite a bit of these done. And if you're not getting PSE bursts, or the groups that you're with in deck space or in Nuisance Plant are just slow and they're not getting through these fights fast enough, it is a good idea to go ahead and do this. On top of that, you do also want to do this anyway because of the limited time tasks. So getting those done at the same time as you're building these up, actually pretty smart to go ahead and do. Last place you can get the hold of these is the urgent quest. The urgent quest does drop like 3 of each. It's still pretty bad for the urgent quest. I mean, you're not meant to farm it. It is only 1 and done and you're good to go. But you aren't running those for the extra resources. You're running them specifically for the weapon badges. So it is nice to get some extra resources along the way, but you're running them mostly for the weapon badges as well as the limited time task completion. So now we know how to get them. We know what to do. We know what we're going for. In case you're curious why I went with the VOs yet again, the previous VOs put me in a comfortable spot that in case I made a mistake, I'd be able to get a bit of PP back and still be able to continue my rotation. The new VOs actually put me in a spot where I can actually get a full extra PA off before I wouldn't be able to. So it puts me in a spot where I can get exactly 1 extra PA off. Just enough PP, I think by like 1 or 2 to get the full rotation, and I should be good to go. Granted, I shouldn't need it in most situations. However, if I get interrupted or something along those lines, it will be nice to have. Here comes the fun part of the video. Here's where we do some math. So we'll be checking out Cakewalk's damage calculator. I'll have a link in the video description to it. You guys, I mean, but at this point, if you follow my channel, you know plenty about it. We're gonna go ahead and do some comparisons and see just how powerful this weapon is comparatively to our previous one and other weapons we have access to. So apologies for the flashbang. I know people are probably thinking, why wouldn't you just use something like dark mode or whatever? Perfectly honest, dark mode looks really, really bad in a lot of these sheets, even if there's a version for it. I just don't like using it, and you can barely read. So we're not gonna mess around too much with that. However, here's the Cakewalk's damage calculator. Really easy to use. In case you're curious how to use it, feel free to let me know. I have videos up on the channel on how to use it, so definitely check that out. We currently are set to main class Bouncer, subclass Slayer. Pretty straightforward. In case any of you are wondering, hey, what about Slayer? What about this? What about that? It's not really gonna matter too much. These are damage comparisons between the same thing, so there's no crit chance involved that differs the situation. There's no crit damage involved that differs the situation, so there's really not going to be a change between classes for the most part. We are set up with our best in slot setup, so of course we're using our hysterical strength, shortage PP, and endure pain with the Grand Dread Keeper 2 setup that you normally use. If you're running Slayer, the only difference here would be that you would swap out your Grand Dread Keeper 2 here for a Grand Gaze Master. Grand Gaze Master, that's it. So you swap it out for a Grand Gaze Master here, you'd be all good to go. And of course we have our best in slot armor setup, all good to go there. I mean, technically this would be Trestasis, but realistically speaking, it doesn't really make a difference. But for the sake of posterity, you know what, even better, we'll make sure that it is exactly right, if for no other reason but to deal with my OCD. There we go. All right, cool. So we have the entire setup, our entire unit setup, our entire weapon setup. Here's the fun part. I haven't even actually looked at this yet myself ahead of time, so I'll be looking at it with you guys in real time, live. So I'm gonna be comparing and seeing how well these weapons do. All right, so here is our Celio weapon, the baseline here, of course, comparing it to some other things here. So Celio plus Blaster 3 Wingguard. Solo, of course, is gonna do more damage. Using Blaster 3 Wingguard is still going to be very, very powerful. What this essentially means, that means that you're using your Celio, plus you are also swapping over to a Wingguard just to PB that has at least Blaster 3 on it. You also roughly want to have the same amount of potency on it. You usually don't want to have less. I mean, it's going to be As long as the weapon is close to what you're currently using, this is about what you're going to have. If you have a situation where you do have a lesser augmented weapon, it's not going to be as worth, or it's going to be kind of like on par. So just keep that in mind, at least in the solo situation. Now, in a 4-man situation, everyone using their blasters, it's a pretty substantial difference, as you can see here. So an extra 6% damage in a party, as long as everyone is using a Wingard for PBs, or at least you are taking advantage of the Wingard PB situation. So for example, let's say you are in a party of 3 other people that are using Wingards and you're not, and you're just using your Celio. Well, they're going to be able to maintain that that extra damage bonus for you, so you will be doing a lot more damage overall as opposed to using your Wingard yourself. Now, let's say for example you are just using a Wingard. Well, if you're in a party just using a Wingard, it is still a damage bonus. Only using a Wingard. Keep that in mind. If you're only using a Wingard, this damage right here, this is looking at it from the perspective of only using a Celio, and you are not benefiting at all from the Wingard damage bonus. If at any point in time you are benefiting from the Wingard damage bonus, well, now you're looking at a situation where you're doing more damage. However, if you are in an entire party where no one has a Wingard damage bonus, you flat out have no access to it, which is gonna be pretty rare, to be perfectly honest. Well then, if you were to be in a party with people using Wingards, it'd be more damage. Now, keep in mind, if you are the only person with the Wingard buff, and you have a Wingard, and you're only one that's using it, it is a damage loss. So, what does all that mean? Well, when you look at it from the perspective of your Wingard, if you just have a Wingard at the moment, for the most part, it's going to be a damage increase. Totally fine to use your Wingard, totally okay to use it as it is at the moment. However, if you make a Celio and you keep your Wingard, it is still a damage increase. And on average, it will be a massive damage increase for the most part. So should you make your Celio? Yes. Go ahead and make your weapon and keep your Wingard. Do not get rid of it. It's totally fine to. However, you are going to be rolling the dice. Make sure that you have someone in your party that is using the Wingard to maintain the actual buff. If you don't take advantage of that buff, well, then you're going to be losing out on damage. The only time that Wingard is actually going to be stronger is in a situation where if you had just switched over to a Celio, you would have been stronger anyway. The last thing to keep in mind as well is if you're in a situation where you are going to be using Blaster. So Blaster does push out ahead. In this situation, it shows up a little bit off. It's like minus 0.9. It pushes out slightly ahead of attack. This calculation isn't it's weird how this works out, but essentially Blaster and attack are roughly the same. Blaster ekes out a little bit more in most situations, primarily because of the potential on this weapon, as well as making sure that not only are you using your Mars for downs instead, which with the recent changes to Mars, that's a lot easier to do, but you're also fully taking advantage of the fact that you're using Origis 5, or at least Origis 3 on your units. Origis 5, of course, is much better because you build your PP much faster, but at least Origis 3 is what you're looking for. So what do we look like for a damage difference? Comparatively to Duo Celio, only about 2% difference. However, it took you about an hour or two to make it, so definitely worth it in my book. That's pretty much it. And if you're curious about how much stronger it is than our Gen Cool, I don't know why you're still here. Please, for the love of God, please upgrade your weapon. I beg of you. I beg, please put it away. Please upgrade the weapon. Put it away now. That's all I've got. If there's anything I missed, feel free to leave it in the comments below. Like if you enjoyed the video, sub if you want to keep up with more. As always, thanks to channel members. You guys are fantastic, and I appreciate every single one of you. Keep in mind that if you become a channel member, that does increase the timer here as well as following the channel, or sorry, subbing to the channel. That's a free way to increase the timer. I will be keeping an eye on that. I'll be increasing the timer manually, so I'd appreciate if you guys go ahead and take care of doing this. Either way, take care, my friends. Peace out.